Thank you for taking the time at the end of our last session to journal some of your questions about God. Those questions lie within you, but may I suggest that the answers about God's existence do not? To explore whether this mystery exists beyond you, you have to turn your focus outward. And to do this might feel counterintuitive, but it can be incredibly freeing. I found that when life feels overwhelming, it helps me to drive to the ocean and look out at the wild sea. And I'm reminded of how small I am compared to all that I see, which helps me to remember that it can't possibly be all up to me. Perhaps you've had a similar feeling when you've encountered something breathtaking in the world. And maybe it's a panorama of mountains that reach to the clouds, or a display of stars in a clear night sky. As you contemplate nature, do you ever wonder at its beauty, how it came to be in such a spectacular and varied fashion? Do you think about whether the universe is eternal or if it came into being at some point? Might it have been brought into existence by some great force? These questions and others like them have been explored by scientists and curious minds for thousands of years. It's in our nature to ask the questions how and why. These questions and more caused Alan Rex Sandage to pursue astronomy as his life's work. Well respected in his field, he determined the first reasonably accurate values for the Hubble constant and the age of the universe. The list of the honors for this astronomer is long and international, such as the Gold Medal of the Royal Astronomical Society, the National Medal of Science, the Eddington Medal, and the Crawford Prize from Sweden. And as he looked beyond himself, he observed that the Big Bang was a supernatural event that couldn't be explained within the realm of physics as we know it. And he said that science has taken us to the first event, but it can't take us further to the first cause. The sudden emergence of matter, space, time, and energy pointed to the need, he said, for some kind of transcendence, which is making the point that nothing in our world can move without some kind of help. If you trace it back, you always find something setting things in motion. Observe the Earth spinning on its axis. How does the Earth get its motion? It's pulled by the gravity of the sun, setting the Earth orbiting and spinning as a direct result of the sun's presence. But the sun is moving too, orbiting around our galaxy and spinning on its own axis. And so we can ask, how does the sun get its motion? Well, the sun is pulled by gravitational force of the center of our Milky Way galaxy. But our galaxy is in motion too, traveling through space at a speed we cannot fathom. And though we are just a tiny piece of that universe, we know that the whole universe, made up of countless solar systems and galaxies, is in a constant state of motion as it expands rapidly and endlessly. And as we reach the limits of what science can tell us, we see that each object in motion was set into motion by another object in motion. But this cannot be the final answer because there has to be something or someone who produced the original motion, the first unmoved mover. This first mover must be one who is unmoved by any other, the source of all other movement. Logically, science leads us to the conclusion that movement begets movement, and where there was none, there can be none. So in acknowledging that there is movement, we must acknowledge too that at the beginning, there must have been an unmoved source of that movement, which lies outside of our laws of gravity and physics. Consider bicycles. Modern bicycles, it may sound ridiculous to say, are made in the image of the first bicycle. Of course, there are improvements and additions, but there is certainly a quality found in that original bike that unites all bicycles in such a way that we can identify them and distinguish them from, like, scooters. So the first bicycle we know was not an accident. We would, of course, respond in disbelief if someone told us that they dropped a crate of random parts and tools, and as it hit the ground, it fell in such a way that a bicycle was formed. Instead, we understand logically that we can discover who invented the bicycle. The history of the bicycle is complicated and varied, and many people are credited with inventing different parts of the early transportation machine. But what we do know is that someone desired an object that did not exist, a two-wheeled, pedal-powered transportation technology that could be accessible to many and expand the distances to which humans could travel in a short period of time. And this person or people worked to gather materials that already existed and assembled them in new and intentional ways in order to produce what we now know as the bicycle. This was intentional work. It was initiated and carried out because someone willed it to be so. Someone desired that the bicycle exist. There had to be some kind of intelligent designer behind things. The bicycle has an origin. Once it did not exist, now it does. We look to its origin and find a human hand helping to make it. And that hand itself is exquisite, made of bones and nerves and blood vessels and muscles. Who made the hand? Keep working backwards through more and more complex creations, always looking for the originator behind what you observe. And at some point, you have to take a leap of faith. You either believe that it all just came to be by pure chance, or you believe that some intelligent creator was the first mover. I would like to propose that this mysterious, intelligent creator is given the name God. And maybe you can see the merit in this truth that science points to the existence of a first mover of this mystery we call God. But why should you care? Why can't that be the end of it? I've acknowledged that something outside of our physical universe exists to put all of this into motion. But what does that have anything to do with me living and breathing now, not at the inception of the universe? What I want to suggest is that God does not just serve to set this into motion. There is much in our world that continues to need the first mover. It's easier to look at our physical universe with its literal motion and acknowledge the need for God. But there are everyday realities in our everyday lives that must be moved first by God in order to be set into motion. Realities that are harder to observe. Things like love, forgiveness, healing, hope, purpose, meaning, friendship, peace. God is at work now, moving and sustaining everything we see and experience. When God sets something in motion, He has a vision for its path. He knows to what end, for what purpose He has set it into motion. Why? What motivates this mysterious mover? We hear it so often that it has perhaps lost its meaning. God is love. Now, this may be difficult to accept and perhaps even more difficult to prove, but just imagine if it were true. If you could let yourself see what it would feel like if it were. What if God does nothing, creates nothing that He does not absolutely and beyond our imagination love with all that He is? He puts nothing into motion that does not delight Him. If it exists, God loved it into existence, and He loves it still, constantly and irrevocably, yourself included. This is the message this great mysterious God has sought to reveal to us. And while believing this might be too large a leap for you to take right now, could you perhaps just open your mind and heart to the chance that there is someone who loves you beyond measure and is at work in this very moment to give you what you most need? I invite you to hold space for that possibility.